If you thought making kimchi at home was too hard, well, I have news for you. I have a very easy, slightly quicker version than the classic. This is my version of Korean kimchi. Kimchi, that super funky, epic, umami-packed condiment that I love. Let's get straight in here. We're doing a cabbage version today. I have like the biggest head of Napa cabbage or wombok or Chinese cabbage, whatever you want to call it. This guy is large. Now what we want to do here is cut this guy in half first of all. Now with the classic version, you're usually kind of dealing with sort of whole heads or half heads of the cabbage. We're doing a quicker version, so I want to get this broken down into much smaller pieces. It's going to make the whole process happen a bit faster. What you want to do first of all though is cut out this core part. And then cut your pieces in half again. And now you want to go for like, 3 centimeter kind of chunks here. Basically, I like to think of, I want little bite-sized pieces, perfect enough to kind of just scoop up with some chopsticks. So it's the sort of size you're looking for. And then first up, we want to get our cabbage leaves nice and clean. So I'm going to give this a good rinse under the tap. Now back in our bowl here. And now we're into like the first kind of salty step of our kimchi making process. The salt's really important here. So the salt's not only going to add the flavor that we want, but it's also going to help to soften the cabbage as well and start to break down that vegetable. Give that a good mix. And then I like to leave this for about 2 hours. You want to come back every now and then and just kind of sort of give it a turn, give it a mix. So while our cabbage is doing its thing, we've got lots of time to get our kind of kimchi fermenting paste thing going on. You can buy a kimchi starter from a lot of Asian stores or online. Making it at home is really easy though. First of all, what you need is some Korean chili flakes. So these are gochugaru. Look, have a look online. It's really easy to order online. I love the color. It's beautiful, bright red, and it's spicy. It's not ridiculously spicy though. It's just right, I think, for this purpose. And then to that you want some garlic. And the cool thing about making your own kimchi at home is you can really tailor it to how you like. I like it garlicky, that's just me. So I'm using a fair amount of garlic here. If you like it less garlicky, then by all means use less. Now we want some ginger in here as well. We want some sugar in here as well. You do need a little bit of sugar and sweetness, not just for the flavor, but also like chemically what happens is the vegetables all kind of have their own little bits of bacteria on them just naturally, and that bacteria actually reacts with the sugars and the starches in this paste, and that's how you get the fermentation thing happening. So yeah, scientifically we kind of need a little bit of sugar as well, and some fish sauce, because you've got to have some funk. Kimchi, let's not kid ourselves, is funky. The fish sauce is going to give us some of that. If possible, you could get a nashi pear, which would probably be more typical in Korean food, but I just have a regular pear here. Kind of like the sweet fruitiness this gives to the kimchi, and also helps with that fermentation process as well. Now we just want to blend that till it's nice and smooth. All right, so this is the kind of situation that you're looking for. Oh, that smell, it's like, oh, it already smells a bit like kimchi already. Now look at that bright red paste. Oh, that is just pure happiness in there. All right, now that's looking good. I just want to slice up a few more vegetables. I like to do a bit of a mix of cabbage and spring onion and daikon as well. So we'll go with the spring onion. Now I like to have the spring onion kind of in strips. I like to see those little strips every time I pick up a little mouthful of kimchi. I don't know why, aesthetically, I just like it. So we go down here through the center of the spring onion, and then make sure you're slicing through those green parts as well. And now this guy here is a Japanese radish, also called a daikon. I really love, it's got a very mild flavor, but it's really good at like soaking up all the kimchi flavors, and I love how crunchy it is, so I like it for that reason, but you can leave it out if it's not widely available where you are. Now you want to peel this first. And then some nice battens. Now once your cabbage has had that time to kind of get itself acquainted with that salt, you can see that it's a lot kind of softer. We've lost a lot of kind of bulk of the cabbage as well. So what we need to do now though is rinse all that salt off. The cabbage itself will still have some nice salty flavor, but we don't want too much salt going on. So let's get that rinsed. I just want to get those other vegetables on top. And then our lovely homemade kimchi base. And then if you're really a masochist and you're after a bit of like a hand peel, you could get in there with your hands and mix that. But I'm not, so I'm going to use tongs. You could also use rubber gloves, of course, but tongs are what I have today, so I'm going to use those. Make sure you're getting everything coated in that lovely ruby red paste. Now you want to pack that into a sterilized jar. And the whole thing about kimchi is that, you know, traditionally it was something to kind of, you know, preserve and keep food for a longer amount of time. And why does that happen? Well, when we were talking about those reactions that happened earlier, so when the good bacteria starts reacting with the sugars and the starches, it produces a lot of things, flavor being one of them, acid being another, in particular lactic acid. So when you've got lactic acid combining with salt, which we have plenty of here, that kind of prevents any bad bacteria from popping up. So that's the idea. Now the idea here is that we want to give the kimchi enough time to, you know, get some of that fermentation magic happening, but you know, we also want to eat some kimchi quickly, fairly quickly. If you leave it out at room temperature, 2 to 3 days is all you need. Look, you can actually eat it fresh right now, it's still really delicious, but 2 to 3 days to give you some of that really cool, like funky, fermenty flavor kind of happening, and then store it in your fridge, ready to eat whenever you want. I happen to have some that I made earlier, so we can try it together. All right, let's get it. So here we go. This guy is like 3 days old today. Happy birthday. You can see we've got a lot more liquid going on in here. That's presumably come out of the vegetables mixed with the paste and all those things. Let's open this guy up. Ooh, you get that whiff straight away. You know, there is nothing else that smells like kimchi. It is, you know, its own category of food. Amazing. Oh, yum, that was great. Cabbage is broken down. Got lovely little bits of that spring onion. Obviously, the longer you keep it as well, the more the kind of tangy, you know, the lactic acid will keep developing and more of those tangy flavors will develop. So it will kind of change. I mean, that's the cool thing about kimchi. It's alive. All right, let's get in here and taste. That smell. That is spicy, but tangy, and you've got like the funky umami going on, but then actually it's not too salty at all, which is great. It will probably develop and get a little saltier as it ages, but it's starting out at a really good point here. Yum. A little bit of the spring onion, daikon, just perfect. All right guys, kimchi away. Happy cooking with this one. Yum. Savory pancakes packed full of so much flavor, a whole lot of veggies, and we've got like this salty sesame kind of dipping sauce going on. These are my Korean vegetable pancakes. So key element here is getting your pancake batter just right, because I think the main thing with these Korean pancakes is the batter's got to be sturdy enough to hold like a whole bunch of vegetable. You basically want like It's like a lot of vegetable, just a little bit of batter kind of clinging around. So that's the kind of vibe we're going after. We want to start with some plain flour or all-purpose flour. And then you want to cut that with either potato starch or corn flour, and that's corn starch to you guys in the US. But adding in this lighter starch, if you like, means that we're getting a lighter kind of batter.
I'm glad you clarified the cornstarch thing, because I don't think you've ever done it in another video before.
Do you have like a list of things that I say like all the time? You're like, okay, she's gonna say this now. Now she's gonna say this. Corn flour, that's cornstarch to you. When you're at home and you're cooking with corn flour, you're like, this is corn flour, which is cornstarch to you.
Those Americans that aren't watching me right now.
Now, I want to add some extra like lightness here by putting in some baking powder. So the baking powder kind of like creates like a reaction where we get some fluffy stuff going on, which gives us a lighter pancake. And some salt as well. Just give those dry ingredients a mix. Now we need an egg and some water. Now just whisk all of that through till you've got a nice smooth batter. Okay, so you can really choose your own adventure when it comes to vegetables here. I've got capsicum, some carrot, you could do zucchini, spinach, a whole bunch of things. I think the main thing is though that you do really want some spring onion. I do love that spring onion, kind of that light savory onion flavor in the pancake. So use spring onion, but whatever other vegetables you want. You just want to chop them really fine. Just pop them straight into that pancake batter. And as I said, it should look like there's like too much vegetables almost. A lot of vegetable, just a little bit of batter. Now what we need here is some kimchi. This is going to give us like a really nice spicy kind of flavor. Just want to finely chop it. Give that a mix. Now before I get those pancakes sizzling, I'm just going to make our little dipping sauce. Very simple, but I think very necessary here because you've got these beautiful savory pancakes, but you kind of want this like hit of salty, you know, tangy sesame kind of thing at the end, I think. So you want to start off with a little bit of soy sauce, some vinegar, just plain old white vinegar is fine, or some rice vinegar if you've got it. Some sesame oil, just a little dash of sugar here that's going to like round out those salty soy sauce flavors. Okay, now I have a pan heating up here. I just want a little bit of oil. And you just want to take some, I don't know, like maybe like quarter cup full kind of scoops here. It doesn't really matter. You can choose whatever size you like. And then drop that straight onto your pan. Now I like it when these get a little bit charry on the bottom. So I like to let them go for a little bit till we get that nice sort of dark color on the edges. Okay, so I can see that these are starting to look kind of crispy on the edges. So I'm going to flip them over. Ah, yes, very nice. Now, another couple of minutes on this side. All right, now I like to get these out onto a tray, and unless you've got some like giant pancake pan, obviously you're not going to get all of the pancakes in one go. So I pop them on a tray and then I just get them in the oven and keep them warm while I make the rest of my pancakes. So to serve these guys up, I just pop them out onto a little plate with our dipping sauce. And this is something that's quite nice to have on the side of like, you know, some Korean grilled steak or Korean stir fry or something, and some rice as a meal, or, you know, just as like a little dipping appetizer. Totally up to you. But I am gonna get right in here because I get very excited about pancakes. Any kind of pancakes. Definitely want a good dunk in your sauce. It's so deceptively simple, these pancakes and that dipping sauce, but like all together, it's such a great flavor. The vegetables themselves are a little crunchy, but they've really cooked through, like in that pancake, they're nice and tender. And then you've got that like sesame salty tangy thing going on with the sauce. And it's crispy and all the things. Really, really yum. Oh, I didn't have any lunch, that's why I'm so eating so many pancakes. So good. Ridiculously tender, sticky ribs. Is there anything better, my friends? This version has all the spicy goodness and a few little like surprise ingredients here. These are my sticky Korean ginger beer ribs. Okay friends, so we're gonna go through like my foolproof technique on how to get the most tender, beautiful, melt in your mouth ribs plus the sticky glaze. I use this method religiously with my ribs at home. For that, we want to start off with some gochujang. I love this guy. It's a fermented Korean chili paste. It has all the spicy, it has all the umami, slightly dried chili kind of flavor as well, which is nice. And I also love the color it gives the glaze and the sauce. To that, I'm going to add some brown sugar, some soy sauce, and a little pinch of salt. Okay, just give that a whisk. Now the first stage of our technique for the ribs relies on creating a little parcel that's gonna allow a whole bunch of steam and heat to really kind of break down that beautiful porky meat between the ribs. So I want some foil here and some baking paper. I grab a chunk of my ribs. All right, so you just need a really thin layer of glaze here. So the whole idea with my technique is that you really concentrate on just getting the pork really nice and tender and soft first of all, because like, you know, I actually think that when you've got the ribs at the end, it's really only that outside layer of glaze that you're really tasting. And I don't want to dilute that in this first cook where you get a lot of the meat juices coming out. So I'm just putting a little bit on here for some flavor, and then the rest of the sticky flavor will come later on when we're doing our second part of the cook. So there's always method to the madness, usually. Okay, now just kind of fold this up like it's a, you know, Christmas present. I mean, that's my kind of Christmas present, right? Like imagine if you're like under, you know, sitting around the tree, someone hands you a little parcel of ribs. I mean, what could be better than that? Okay, so that goes in my little baking tray here. Now get all of your chunks of pork into those little parcels. Same thing, a bit more glaze. So now we've got our little tray of presents here. How fun. These go into the oven at a low and slow temperature for 90 minutes, and then we'll come back and have a look. So that gives us loads of time to get the rest of our glaze sorted. We're sort of partway there with it, but I want to add some more flavor and tanginess. We're going to start with some ginger beer. So in Australia, ginger beer is like a huge thing. It is fizzy, it's sweet, but it has like a ginger kind of flavor. It's non-alcoholic as well. So I think probably the closest thing in the US or in other parts of the world might be root beer. That's probably most similar in flavor, but you could use cola or, you know, whatever kind of cool, sweet kind of soft drink you've got in your area that you want to sort of experiment with. I'm going to go in with my ginger beer. And if you're not using a ginger flavored kind of cola or soft drink, you could try adding in a little bit of grated ginger in here as well. That would be quite nice. Now I'm going to go in with some tangy here because I want to balance out that sweetness. So I've got some apple cider vinegar. Now what we want to do is mix this through so it's like sort of combined. What I want to do is simmer this for about 20 or 30 minutes. That is going to concentrate all of those amazing flavors in here and thicken everything up. Okay, let's come back here and have a look, and this is kind of what we're after here. It's thick and it's certainly getting some stickiness there, but it needs to cool down a bit and then it'll get really nice and thick and gloopy. I'm just going to pull it out into a bowl and wait for our ribs. Yum, you can really taste like the ginger beer, like that cola and ginger flavor. It's really yum. All right, hurry up ribs, I'm hungry. All right, let's come and have a look at our ribs now. Okay, so at this point what we're hoping for is just some really soft, tender porkiness going on. We're not going to have the colour yet. They're not quite ready for your Instagram kind of shots yet. Let's get in here and have a look. Now, you guys at home should be waiting for these to cool down. I'm too impatient, so I'm just going to get in here, and I've burnt my fingertips off from cooking so much, so it's okay for me. Right, let's have a look. All right, perfect. So what you can see here is that we've got the pork starting to come away from the bones. I can see when I push down that that is really nice and tender. I'm going to get these out onto another baking tray, just lined with some more baking paper, purely because I hate to do the washing up. At this point, you can kind of like, you know, break a little piece off. Just try it. Oh wow, I love that. It's so soft and tender. Yum. And now we're into the sticky part. So we get our glaze, which has cooled down nicely, and look how nice and thick and shiny that is. And we want a really generous amount of that lusciousness all over. Top, bottom, sides, everywhere. I want you to turn your oven grill up really high here, and I'm going to give them like a couple of minutes, then I'm going to pull them out, glaze them again, another couple of minutes. We're kind of just layering the stickiness here. That's what we're doing. Pork is currently smelling heavenly. It's been in and out a couple of times, a few glazes, and this is what we've got. Oh my goodness, so good. Look at the shine, look at that color, like just slightly kind of burnished at the edges, exactly what I want. Now these guys are quite delicate because they are really lovely and soft, which is great. I'm just gonna pile them up because, I mean, you've gotta have a pile. I'll just have like one. Wow. Well, I've already started licking my fingers. Well, that's what you're doing when you got ribs, right? But I just have a little bit more of my glaze that I saved here, so I'm just gonna kind of drizzle that on the top there. Wow, yes, very good. And just a final little sprinkling of some coriander and spring onion. So there you go, guys. Now that is a plate of ribs. I'm gonna get in here, they're gonna be hot, but nothing can stop me right now. All right, let's get in here. Oh, it's so good. See how soft they are? Like you should, I mean, the bone just literally came out. That to me is really exciting. Let me just break that off. Oh, look at that. Oof, I'm burning my fingers, but I don't even care. Oh, wow. This is so good. Wow. That is so ridiculously good. I mean, you know, all the bones are just falling out completely and things are sticky. My fingers are messy. But I'm very happy. That 2-cook method, so foolproof. And then that really sticky, like tangy glaze. And then you've got that little like hint of the ginger flavor from the ginger beer. Wow, ridiculous. So good, oh my goodness. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed that one. If you did, why not hit the like button? And even better, I would love so much if you would subscribe and even hit that little bell button so you get notified every time I release a new delicious video. Thanks guys.